welcome to our class called Rules to Pass the BCBA Exam. Actually, not rules to pass the BCBA. These are just the rules of the BCBA exam. Some things that will definitely help you when you're studying and can make you, we gotta get closer together here. So it's hot. I know, but it's okay. We're here together in the same room, teaching you the rules of the exam, and hopefully you guys have paper next to you to take notes on these things and really keep these things in mind when you're taking the test. All right. Oh, so number one, this exam is not based on your real life experience, okay? A lot of people who take this test or are practicing, they're like, I don't know why I got this mock wrong. I don't know why I did this when I took the test, because I do not care what you are doing in your clinic, and neither do they. I might care a little more than the person giving you the test does. Even if you're doing your assessment where you decide to do, you know, a follow-up as your first step. Okay, that'd be weird, but regardless what it is, I don't give a shit. I care what Cooper says, and the people writing the test also care what Cooper says. There are only 4 answer choices, A, B, C, and D. One of those are the answer. And I'll tell you this. So you could already break that down that, okay, so now I only have 4 choices that it could be. Now I know it's not what I do. It doesn't necessarily mean what my clinic, right? What does the Cooper book say? All right. So if you find yourself being like, well, at my clinic, we do about 6 high P's before we do a low P or whatever it is. First of all, that seems like a lot of tasks to get to a high P, but I don't care. Don't do it, okay? Everything you need to know is in the question. Because I don't know why it's doing this.
Do you want to share from Canva?
Yeah. Oh, wait. Because we're like both on the computer here.
It's taking up a lot of Wi-Fi.
That's pathetic.
I know.
The 2 people can't sit next to each other. Guys, I'm sorry.
I think I can present from Canva.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do.
Present.
Are you sharing? Oh, no. Okay, guys. Oh, but it is number 2 now. So
I think we're going to go faster here, though.
Me too.
Do this. So let me get out of here.
All right. So Casey's going to share.
Look how cool we are. We're so chill. I'm never chill.
Speak for yourself. There is a basic order for ethical scenarios. Okay. So ethics are huge on the test.
Hold on. Let me present it first before you keep going.
And I'm going to have to switch microphones to your screen so it looks like I'm. Guys, I know.
All right, now you can hear us. Hold on. We're starting over here. Okay, go ahead.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to move seats though, because I need to let people in on your side.
Yeah, but I'm not a host. Guys. Also, mind you, in the background here, there is a full move going on of my entire house. So we're in my bedroom. Number 2. Can you hear me just before I keep going? Yeah? Okay, thank you. The ethics code is sprinkled throughout the entire test. Ethics needs to apply to every question, whether it's considered an ethics question or not, because there's ethical considerations into interventions you're utilizing, into assessment. So keep that in mind. When you read your ethics code, I think the best way to study it, read through it. When I took my test, I regretted that I didn't study ethics more. Or I was like, I know this shit, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, okay, don't sleep with your client, keep your records for 7 years. But it's beyond that. The more thing is these steps of, these are general ethics ideas. So like, let's say you need to report something, whether someone is presenting themselves as a BCBA and they're not a BCBA, whether someone is
False advertising,
whether someone is, billing hours that aren't actually happening. The general rule for ethics, unless there is like some huge, obviously the client comes first. If a child's being hurt, if a child's being hurt, then obviously you would report that immediately because you are a mandated reporter. But the general approach is you approach the individual like, hey, I noticed that you're calling yourself a BCBA, but it's actually a word you're only allowed to use once you've taken this board exam and blah, 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 right? Okay, I think you give them the opportunity to correct it. So there's going to be a lot of questions that are like, what would you do last in the following ethical scenario, right? And the last would be reporting it to the board, right? So you first want to go to the individual, then to their supervisor. And if they do not change, you want them to go to the board. I mean, you will need to go to the board, but that is the general approach. So keep that in mind for questions, because it's not going to be like, what is wrong in this scenario, right? And it's not as basic as like, oh, he slept with his client. It's going to be like, which of these would you do first? Which of these would you not do first, right? So keep that in mind. And so ethics should always be on your mind on the test and in real life. And also always looking out for those not in case they're doing that in there. That's a general rule of thumb.
Go right down
there, guys, today is all right. Number 3, the little details about the client in the question matter, right? So what do I mean by this? They're going to say something and they're like, Johnny is a 6-year-old boy with, with poor fine motor skills. Johnny, has an IQ of 20, and then it's gonna be like, which of these would be an appropriate first behavior to teach or appropriate behavioral cuss, right? So you are going to have to take what you know about Johnny, and it's saying he has an IQ of 20. Okay, so if they have an option like teaching him multiplication, it's gonna not be the correct answer because of who Johnny is. All of the test is about who they are speaking about in a specific question, right? If we're talking about a behavior so it's going to matter about the age, the ability level, right? What's in their repertoire. Like if they do not have basics of, let's say being able to pick up fine motor things, we are not going to have them, writing their name. So you got to keep, what are they able to do? Also keeping they're going to mention in questions like, Johnny's parents really want Johnny to be able to go to church with them. It's a big part of their family, their family time together. It's valuable. It means a lot. So, and resources, like where are they living? They might just be like, hey, this person's living in like Bumblefuck, Idaho, and there's not a lot of help around, right? So they're only able to, they're having difficulty finding RBTs or whatever it is. What I'm saying is it's going to matter.
I was going to say they might, the things that are in the questions matter. So the details matter. Maybe it says that they live half the time with grandma and grandma's in a wheelchair. Can that, how are you going to be able to best help that situation? What resources can you provide? If a parent works full time and the kid's in daycare, maybe you think about if the answers include like work with the daycare staff, like that's probably the best answer because it says mom works a full-time job. So think about all that. And also, again, like Liat said, services available. That's always going to be something that's important because if you are living somewhere where there are not a lot of services, how can you best help mom? Maybe it's more parent training so that mom and dad can do it at home if there aren't any RBTs in the area.
Just considering all that. I couldn't have said it better myself, Case. Good job.
Thanks, sis.
All right. Number 4. There's always a general order when it comes to any questions on assessment. All right. Again, I remember when I took the test, a lot of it was like, which of these would be done last? Which of these would be done first? Which of these would you definitely not do first? Which of these did the BCBA make a mistake of not doing, right? So you need to know, and you need to know these, I'm going to say it tightly and loosely. What do I mean by that? So you need to understand that you always get consent first, but really before you're doing anything, okay? Whether at your clinic, you probably do not get consent to go from, hey, we're going to be switching, we'll call him Kobe today. We're going to be switching Kobe from an FR1 schedule to a VR10. Okay, that would also have ratio strain, so you wouldn't do that. But what I'm saying is that you should get signed off on that according to the test. You probably are not doing that in your clinic, but you should know that you need consent. The general idea of you're going to review records, right? You're going to do that indirect assessment, looking at what is there to see. Okay, what history is there? What is this, right? Then you're going to do your more direct assessments. You're going to go in, what is that? ABC data, narrative recording, anecdotal, or is it going to be a scatter plot? I don't know, right? Understanding the steps you take before you're like straight in there doing an FA. And then, you want to know the different kind of FAs. But again, I know when I worked in a clinic, it might have looked different sometimes. It might have been like, all right, dude, and keep insurance like out of your thought, because of insurance sometimes it's like you got to be conducting like direct assessments on one day of meeting the client, right? When they're bringing the paperwork in. But I don't care. Do what the book says. What is the gold standard? If there was nothing else blocking out like to do this order. All right, you have to rule out medical. This is for the test, not just with assessment, but in general. If there's ever an option to rule out medical for something that is like you're having a hard time finding out the function, you got to rule it out. This person's banging their eye. This one's,
especially if it's really self-injurious or if the behavior comes out of the blue, right? And you've never seen it, and mom reports or dad reports that something is new. That's really important to rule out medical first.
And is it really out of the blue, Casey? We know better.
Determinism. No, it's not. There's always an antecedent and a consequence. These next two, they don't really go on this page, but I wanted to put them in. So for supervision questions, it kind of goes along with like the fact that we slack on studying ethics and supervision because it's at the end, but it's really important.
And the Cooper book does not have the best information on them. I'd say that is also a huge problem. So you're like, okay, I'm going through this thick book, and then you get the other parts, and supervision and ethics seem to be slacked on.
Yeah. So you guys know BST stands for behavior skills training, which leads to competency-based training. And that's going to be a key player in a lot of supervision questions. So you need to know those steps and know them really well, right? So you're going to provide the written description. You're going to explain the rationale. You're going to tell them. You're going to model it. You're going to role play. You're going to rehearse. You're going to, allow them a chance to do it with clients. You're going to provide feedback. And then you're going to repeat until mastery criteria is met. So be able to spit that out, talk that to a friend, role play some BST, because those are going to be questions that are going to also be like, what step did the BCBA miss, right? And so we want to make sure that you're tight on that one. And also what you did for supervision is not the same as supervision on the test. It is a perfect world on the test. So remember that same as every other thing. It is a perfect world. If you come and you start saying, oh yeah, when I was conducting supervision, we actually provided, what?
I mean, look here.
Oh, sorry. Group supervision, blah, 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 whatever it may be. Stop yourself and just go, I know what the steps of BST are. What did they miss? Come back to the test. You're
Perfect.
in there for one reason, and that's to pass the test.
Yep. Perfect. Okay. It's not a perfect world out there, but on the test, it is. Okay. Okay, Kobe says. All right, who or what are they asking about in the question? This is so important, okay? So this is gonna sound a little conflicting to what we said earlier, because Casey earlier said like every part of the question matters. And it does when you're trying to get background information, okay? So like whether they said like, someone's like, ability level, like a little comments about like where they live, the stakeholders, what they want, whatever it is. But then there are other parts of the question. So you do want to look at that. But when you want to look at the question part of it, so I know the question is like this long, but the last sentence of the question or the last two sentences are going to be asking you about, what are, what in this situation, Kim's behavior of posting more selfies is a result of, right? but there might've been behavior on Pete's behavior. There might've been something about, Stormy, that's not Kim's daughter. That's North. Thank you. Northwest.
Show.
Northwest, I should know. Right. So it's going to be asking about one specific person or about one specific part of the question. That being said, if you have not started thinking in terms of a behavior analyst yet, when it comes to there's behavioral principles going on at all times, right? But they're going to be, so there might be a few that you're seeing in there. You're seeing behavioral contrast occurring, like you're able in your head to attack, like, oh, there's behavioral contrast right there. Oh, but matching law, she's spending more time over there. Oh, but I see there was positive reinforcement there because people liked her pictures. It's only going to be asking about one part of that. So yes, there are multiple. Oh, we can't type next to each other. Sorry, I know, because see, that was masking what I know, competing stimuli. So that is the idea, that you have to focus on what it is asking you about. So read this last line twice, 3 times. I don't know, but whatever it is, make sure that you are not missing who it is asking about, because I think a lot of people get to the question, the first behavioral concept they'll see in there, they're like, got it, reinforcement, got it, reinforcement. And then they will go and put that as their answer. But really it was asking about something later in the question about, contingency shaped behavior, whatever it is. All right. You are allowed to use your mouse to help you follow along as you read so that you do not get lost in the question. This is a great stimulus prompt to keep you, that you could utilize for yourself. Okay. And okay, this is one I feel very passionate about. Don't waste your time defending your answer in the comment section. So you're going to see when you take the test, if you've never taken it before, there's going to be a little thing, like a little box that you could drop down, and it's like comments. Okay. You have 185 questions to answer. All right. That gives you about 1.3 minutes per question. They do not give a fuck about your feedback. I do not know how else to say this, but even if you're like, well, technically it could be this, well, it could be this. Yeah, they're the best at writing these questions. They're writing it to try confuse you. Okay. So you being like, well, it could be negative. They know that. That's why they wrote it like that. But there's only one correct answer. So you do not have time to waste writing your comments in there. There's one answer that they're considering correct in there. Okay. There will be 10 pilot questions in there. So don't freak out if you haven't heard of something. They're trying to test out new questions. But I always say the test is still 185 questions. You don't know which ones are pilot questions. So you don't be like, this is hard. I'm not going to, right? You're going to try answer every one to the best of your ability.
I remember on my test, I think the first 10 must have been pilot. I swear to God, I had no idea what was going on in that exam and I started freaking out. But once I got past a few, I was settling into being like, okay, now I know. So if you start freaking out, remember to take a deep breath and keep going.
Now, and remember this 1.3 minutes is if you are not taking a bathroom break. So just really also when you're testing, try timing yourself how long it takes you. Right? You didn't include any toilet break in there for the 1.3. Like that's if you literally sat for 185. Breaks. Oh, you did?
Not including breaks.
Oh, that's cool. Got it. Yeah.
Right?
She's got it. Yeah. If you don't know it, move on. You could flag it. It gives you an option to flag it. You come back later. And the cool thing about flagging a question is, and on my whiteboard, I would personally write like 73, behavior contract question mark, something about it. You might get a question later on question 160 that's about that helps remind you of the order, right? So just write what you were confused on so that you know where to go back to. Okay, first read the last sentence of the question. I kind of said this before, along with the answer choices. So there's going to be a long scenario. We are in the field of applied behavior analysis. So the examples are applied. The questions are not going to be like, what is adding a stimulus that increases the future frequency of behavior, right? It's not going to be that clear for positive reinforcement. It's going to be like, Liat loves going to the bars. Whenever she goes to the bars, the guys slap her ass. She loves it. So now she goes to the bars more, right? It's applied. So, and it might say in there, and Liat smiles whenever someone slaps her ass. What is happening to the behavior of the men slapping her ass? Okay. So it's not asking about me. It's asking about the individual or the men. And it said Liat smiled after, right? So you want to make sure that you are looking at who the question's asking about. Whose behavior is it? Did you read the last sentence first? Read the answer choices so that when you're reading through the scenario, because again, people tend to identify with the first behavioral principle that they see. So they'll be like, oh, I know it was reinforcement, I saw it, but it's talking about someone else's behavior. So really make sure that you're reading the last sentence first and reading the answer choices so that when you go and read the long, lengthy information, you're reading it with what to look for. And just note, you're going to be okay. All right. 8. A wise woman once said, know the shit you know really well. She was me. Okay. Know the shit you know really well. What does that mean? You are going to get shit wrong on the test. Okay. No one's perfect. And accept that and move to the next question. But what this really should tell you is you are never going to know everything in the Cooper book. We are constantly reading the book over and over for class, and we still are learning new stuff all the time. Like, oh, I finally understand this, or blah, blah, blah. So at least know the stuff that you do know it really well, so that you could rule out that as being an answer if that's one of the answer choices. Because now, like, if you know a few things that you know really well, you could at least eliminate those or choose that if that is the answer.
And make sure that when you are reading the question and you're going through, you're ruling out what is not, right? You're able to eliminate answers because that's going to bring your percentage of getting it right higher. So if you can immediately rule out 2 of them, you're down to 50%. Ruling out is key.
Perfect.
And it also makes you feel a little bit better going between 2 that you know versus 4 and keeping them in your mind when they don't need to be.
Beautiful. And some of the terms they put on there also may not be real terms. They just sound fancy because you're like, function contiguity. I don't know, right? What is that? Nothing.
I love how you say that word.
Contiguity. What do you say?
Contiguity.
Contiguity.
Gooity. I like it. It's cute. You do one word that is wrong, and I do a lot.
What do you say?
Contiguity.
Contiguity.
Okay.
What do I say?
Just go.
Itty. All right.
We'll talk about it later.
Learn to recognize patterns and keywords. Okay. You want to take this one?
Yes. So when you are taking mock exams, which is very important to do when you're studying, keep a notebook next to you and start recognizing keywords and questions that you're seeing show up a lot. All right. There's going to be those. When I read a measurement question, it might talk about how, the BCBA wants a teacher to take data, but they have 30 students and no resources, no RBTs. What's the best time sampling procedure? So now I'm realizing there's some keywords in here. No resources, that they don't have time. And it's a measurement question. So I'm noticing patterns in that. And the answer is momentary time sampling. Okay, well, that's another rule I'm going to write down in my notebook. So write these rules for concepts that you're noticing when you go through your feedback on mocks. Go through your feedback. It is a waste of money to take a mock and not go through your feedback. Okay.
It is also a useless mock.
The feedback is key. Our feedback on our mocks are long. They're going to teach you multiple reasons why the other ones are wrong. So you're going to learn 4 answers in 1. Okay. If you see a not or accept question, write the answers out on the whiteboard. Write A, B, C, and D. I need you to do that. I need you to do this in your head.
Not.
So you'd salient. And then I need you to switch the question and say, what is? Okay. What is true? What is, everything except, right? So what is, or, all that. So please do that, because I still have to do that for not questions, or I literally mess them up every single time.
Me
so
too.
I go through and I go, what is? Yes, that is one. Yes, that is one. Yes, that is one. No, that's not one. Oh, that's my outlier. That's my not. Okay.
Nah.
So do it, please, please, please. It's going to help.
Also with these patterns and keywords, just one last thing, like when you take the collective, we do talk about, like when we talk about different, let's say like either whether it's strategy, you know, behavior change tactics that we use, we talk about like the advantages and disadvantages, or we're talking about, you know, why you might use one experimental design over another. We're also talking about advantages, disadvantages. Those might be the patterns you're looking for, and they're giving you those type of words to have you choose what is best. And that's what kind of sucks about the test in general, is what is best. Like, because a lot of things that we try to teach you loosely is it's not, there's only one way to do things, but there is a best way. And the best way is how the Cooper book says it. Whether you agree or not, you could take that up later and create CEUs about why you disagree with us. I mean, not with us. You can make the CEU with us about why you disagree. Yeah. Don't disagree with us. We're telling you what you need to know.
Last one. Liat loves this whiteboard, and we have a whiteboard video on our YouTube if you want to see it drawn out.
Perfect. All right. Some shit you really need to see visually. I mean, whether you're a visual learner or not, there's shit you have to write out, whether it's stimulus and response generalization. That's a huge one. Whether it is, you know,
stimulus equivalence, right? You're drawing your triangle or your equations. Like I just said, if you see an accept or a not question, write that out.
Definitely have like a basic ABC table in there, because when it's asking you different questions and there's multiple people's behavior going on, you must put the person whose behavior you're looking at as that person's behavior in the middle, so you could see what happened before and what happened after. Otherwise, you might confuse someone else's consequence as someone else's behavior, whatever it is. Okay, so just keep that in mind.
My favorite thing is you got to provide yourself some reinforcement positively. So at the top of it, write something that means, maybe write your why. Give yourself some motivation, right? I'm going to be a BCBA, right? You got this, right? BDE, right? Whatever you need that lights you up, and you can look at it when you're feeling anxious, do that. Also, we need some negative reinforcement, right? That's what gets us through. 185 questions is a lot to digest, but 20 questions is more manageable. So break up your test and do some check boxes. So that after every 20 questions, you can check it off, roll your shoulders back, take a deep breath, maybe crack your back, and then dive back into the next 20 questions. All right, break it into, just like you're going to set goals. You're not going to set a goal where you can't achieve it, but you can achieve 20 questions. I know you can. And then move on to the next. And then you'll get there and you'll finish it in the allotted time, and you guys will rock it and pass your test.
Perfect. All right. Oh, I love when that happens. So if you want more of our stuff, you could visit us at STUDYNOTESABA.com. Those are all the tips for you, or our Instagram, our YouTube, which if you're watching this on YouTube, you know where to find us. No, the behavior bitches. On the next slide. Behavior bitches. Also, we do a good way to apply these concepts while you're studying. Listen to our podcast. We break them down, and it's a great way to apply these concepts so that you're able to pull them out and relate them to real life when you are taking the test. Because the more examples you could provide yourself of a concept or whatever it is, the more likely you are going to be to excel on the test, because they are not just, also a heads up, the test is not only about autism. They're going to talk about whale training. They're going to talk about OBM, how you could help an office, you know, meet their goals quick, whatever it is. So just keep that in mind when you are studying. And I think that's all we have for you today.
Yes. Thank you guys for coming and listening and learning with us. And we love you and mean it.
Hello again, everyone. So did you like the video you saw? Do you want to see more? Do you want to reinforce our behavior and keep us making more of these videos? Okay, easy. One simple step. Go down below underneath this video. You're going to see a big red button that says subscribe. This is a shameless plug. Just push that button, press subscribe, then go to the thumbs up, leave a like, leave a comment, and share it with all your friends.